Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast powered by Cineman. I'm Ewan Gruff, and as always, I'm joined by Lachlan Teely.
You strike, we all strike. That's right. More and more of the film industry are on strike. Both the WGA and the SAG are all now on strike, or the SAG, or the WGA, but you say SAG, but you don't say SAG, but you say WGA, but you don't say WGA, but whatever. Everyone's striking at the moment. Ewan?
We're not striking. We are really busy with, I guess, watching. We're not part of either of those unions. Lack the word there.
I don't think we have a union. And plus, you won't let me join one.
Okay. You watched No Hard Feelings, so just gonna breeze over that. You watched No Hard Feelings, and you also caught Talk to Me, a movie that's not really out yet, I think, for me, and in most places as well. So gonna get a sneak peek for that. Then I watched They Clone Tyrone, a movie that's coming out, I think, in a week or two on Netflix. So I got a bit of a sneak peek there. And then I also caught the new Bird Box movie set in Barcelona.
But were the strikes too late? Because we have a trailer for Wonka. Oh no. Where have we gone? Plus, Ewan and I are going to give our thoughts on the Napoleon trailer. Just brief, because we have something else coming as well. So, let Ewan and I take you on a joyride. Yes, that's right. This week we are covering the movie Joyride. The comedy, adventure, action, fun movie.
Fun.
I don't know what genre to put it in.
It's definitely just a comedy.
It's just a comedy. That's all it is.
It's just a comedy.
You and I are going to discuss that this week.
So let's cue up the intro and get into the show.
We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
Did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
All right, welcome back, Lachlan. A full week of things to discuss. I think we're gonna jump straight into the news, right? Because there's some stuff to discuss.
There's a decent amount.
First up, we did watch the two trailers for Wonka and Napoleon. We did do a bonus recording for that to give our reactions to. There might be a bit of an audio situation that's not too great, but link below, you can find that video. You can also join our Patreon for free and get a bunch of bonus content. So go give it a try. Again, like I said, free. Anyone can join without ever spending a dime. We had some thoughts on both Wonka and Napoleon. With Napoleon, it's mainly like, this looks amazing. With Wonka, it's like,
this looks great.
this looks wonky. I don't know what to make of it.
I'm okay with the trailer. You're the one who's a bit negative on this one, mate. So I can say that there is not enough Oompa Loompa Richard Grant that I can get enough of. So Hugh Grant. I said Richard Grant. Oh, whoopsies.
Richard.
Wrong one.
That's
Hugh Grant.
Another Oompa Loompa.
Oh my god, could you imagine both Hugh Grant and Richard E. Grant as both? Sign me up.
Sign me up.
Look,
I'm
keen. It doesn't matter which Grant I get as an Oompa Loompa, I'll watch it.
Mm-hmm.
The only issue I have with the trailer is just Timothée Chalamet. I don't know how I feel his Wonka is going to come across, but it is a young Wonka. He might not be as Wonka as we might want him to be, so he could just be a Willy, not a Wonka. He could just be Willy, and he needs to free Willy. There's another movie reference for everybody.
Timothy puts the W in Wonka, I guess.
You just said
I don't know.
You said Wonka. You said Wonka.
I said Wonka. I said with
European.
a V. I know. That's I gotta experience Wonka with some vodka. I think that's my deal, and then I'll have a good time. But this will be out for Christmas season. And Napoleon bringing, I guess, the battles of this French, I was about to say director, but French.
No, he's very
it's
French.
Also not president.
When I say French, I mean American. But yeah, he's very French.
Do you think that similar to Johnny Depp and Jean de Barry, that Joaquin Phoenix would also just speak French for this movie?
No.
You
know why? He doesn't need to save his film acting career, so I think he's fine.
Fair. But yeah, that's that. He'll go back to rapping after this. So those are the trailers. If you want to hear more of our thoughts, we got trailer reactions for those. But then the big news item of the week, and for the next coming weeks, and honestly probably months, is the now joined strike with the unions from both the WGA, who have been striking for a couple of months now, I think since May, right? It's been a while. We also now got SAG AFTRA striking as well, that it's the Screen Actors Guild, and those other letters after that is like for radio and all of that other stuff additional to that. And they have I guess accepted the strike thing, and they're doing it now. And it's just a really depressing time to see how the studios and the producers have treated and responded to those incoming strikes. Like, I don't know how much you've seen, but I saw some really disgusting rich behavior, especially like Bob Iger. But yeah, you haven't seen any of those? So can I fill you in?
Go ahead, fill me in.
All right. Yes, you've been filled in.
I don't know if I've told you this, but I'm completely like desocializing my social media presence.
It's not even on Threads. Reddit, really. I don't really use Reddit for news, but I know you've used Reddit for film news as well, right?
All the time.
So there was a quote from Bill Iger that he gave in the interview that, if you don't know, he's the CEO of Disney who stepped down. Then the other Bob came in, did a terrible job, and then they replaced him with another Bob that's definitely not a clone of the frozen head of Walt Disney. And he said that like the way that these strikes are happening right now are like deeply, like really problematic, and it's like the worst time right now, and the demands are like unrealistic and stuff like that. And if you look at the stuff that the conditions that like the actors wanted, some of the stuff was like that the digital likeness cannot be scanned and used for background work, because what the studios had planned to do is to get background actors, extras in, scan them, and then have them digitally for all of time to use as like background extras. So you get like a flat rate, get maybe a couple $100 for your day's work, and then never again. And that's just like that's horrible. Like, you gotta say, that's really exploitative of that type of people who wanna make a living of acting. The same thing with residuals. Like the CEO of Netflix recently said like Orange is the New Black was like the biggest hit ever. And then I saw a video from one of the actors from Orange is the New Black who got like a residual check, and it was like listed all of the episodes she was in. It was like multiple pages, and at the bottom it's like, oh, you got $23 or something like that. And it's like it just doesn't really make sense, because Netflix doesn't give out the data, and there's also no contracts that would give them the money that would accord to the viewership and the money that like the show creates for that service. So that's all like really outdated. And the last time like these two unions have striked together in unison was in the 60s, right when TV was on the verge, and like there's a lot of outdated stuff with technology as it advances. Studios and producers have always tried to exploit it as much as they can. And there's just such a big like discrepancy with someone like Bob Iger earning about 400 times as much as their lowest paid worker does. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on. There's also like smaller stuff with also with AI and like the self-tape things. I'll put a quote up here that explains that real quick. But yeah, Lachlan, I think there's not much for us to comment on other than like our support is fully with the unions who want to get a fair deal from the people who are making money off of them. And it's bad to see, right? It's gonna take a while, and people are gonna lose their houses. They're not gonna have income for a while, and it's tough.
Yeah, 100%. I can't believe residuals on films can be negotiated to be such a poor amount. But hey, yeah, you try to do what you can do in this industry to get your foot in, and hopefully you'll make it and you can break even. But it's good to see that there's a lot of big names as well supporting smaller voices in the industry as well. So hopefully we can get around to a new agreement, especially how quickly technology is changing, where things are premiering. They're not even going into cinemas anymore. Like, I know that direct-to-video has always been a thing, but direct-to-streaming has only become a massive thing in the past 2 to 3 years. So I think it's a great time for them to strike and come to a new agreement with what they deserve to earn. especially when so many residuals were paid for some people when it's just in cinemas, not on streaming. So
Yeah, and for series as well. I mean, that's the whole like writing thing with the mini writers' rooms where writers are not on for an entire series, but basically just writing a couple of episodes. That way, that they're getting paid way less over a smaller amount of time. It's just like less stability for people working in the industry, and like ultimately, I think there's always some comments that are like very much like the people who love Elon Musk and shit like that, like those idiots that you don't really have to like, I don't know, take into account as much. But with like, hey, these are actors, they make a shit ton of money, why do they want more money? And I feel like that's always like a misconstructed argument to make, because it's ultimately like these deals are not for like the 1% of actors who are like really millionaires themselves that negotiate off of what their last rate was. That's like how you get paid more as an actor. It increases. But this is more for like the people who go from work to work, from job to job, and aren't really big names, and are working in the background and stuff like that, that are still like hustling to get like some kind of recognition. That's for them to make a living off of it. And like that's the unfair part. And then for the writers, it's like the vast majority of them really just get like just unfairly treated. I don't know. It's just it's a bit sad to see, but it's the world we live in. We live in a
society. You fuck. I hate the way
we live in a but yeah, so no, I'm not gonna end it like that. I'm gonna tell you what the actors are not able to do right now. In addition to acting, singing, doing podcasts, doing talk shows, they're also not allowed to attend premieres. That's why like the cast of Oppenheimer at the London premiere, before the movie started, they left the red carpet, they were there, and then they left again in support of that. And there's also another tidbit from the UK productions there, because this is obviously like a US thing, and there's a union called Equity. Pretty much all of the actors from House of the Dragon are in that union, and they are legally not allowed to strike in support with SAG and WGA. So House of the Dragon is like a show that is going to continue filming because they're not part of that, and they're not even allowed to strike. Which, yeah, wasn't really interesting to me. It's also going to change some stuff for the fall film festival season, when a bunch of these films are going to premiere, and the cast is not allowed to attend the screenings, the premieres for those films. But I mean, we're there to watch the films after all, not to watch the I mean, there's some people who really love to see the actors, but ultimately you're there to watch the films. So that's all fine with me. I don't really care about that much, which I guess I can say. I think I forgot to say last week, but I am accredited for both Venice and for TIFF this year. We'll see if I manage to go to both. I haven't brought it up yet. I didn't mention it last week, I think. But I am accredited, so we'll see if I end up going to both of those.
You've told me at least like 4 times.
I did well, twice. Maybe
you send me a text every morning saying, "Hey, just remember I'm accredited for both TIFF." And I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, Lachlan's coming with me to Gun next year if everything goes according to plan. And we might be able to do Sundance remotely early next year. That's the plan for you to attend festivals in the near future. Yeah, one last thing is that like Disney is doing a red carpet for Haunted Mansion for that premiere, but because there's no actors, they are using their Disney icons, is what I saw. Like they are using like Mickey Mouse and stuff like that, and they walk the red carpet. It's such a bizarre thing. But yeah, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, right.
And then my most anticipated film of the year premiered earlier this week, a couple of days ago. How Do You Live from Hayao Miyazaki, his last film. Maybe this time it's actually his last film. It will premiere in the US under another title, The Boy and the Heron. I think there's no release date for the US just yet, but it premiered with just a poster, you know, as a promotional thing. And I think there was like, I saw on Twitter, someone leaked the emoticon that was set for the hashtag for the thing. It's interesting to see like how stripped down of a marketing campaign this film is doing, but I'm eagerly awaiting it. And so far, I mean, from what I've seen from people who've seen it in Japan, it's good. So That's what I was looking forward to. Anyways, that's it for the news, man. This was really heavy on my end, lecturing you about the strikes here, but I feel like it just needs to be done because we need to be in the loop with this because it's gonna have an effect. Yeah. Oh my god, I feel like a lecturer. I don't see the notes, but that's fine.
Yeah, I took no notes.
Oh, okay, fair. Now I'm sad. Anyways,
I was actually I should have written a note that says Disney bad.
That's I think what you should take away from this. But by popular demand, we are bringing back from last week discussion time. It's still
discussion time.
It's still discussion time. I haven't seen a better title yet. We're gonna have a discussion about why mid-budget comedies are disappearing more and more, but we'll package that into our review for Joyride. First up, we do want to go over, now that we are more than halfway through 2023, we want to go through our, I guess, top 10 of the year, the films that we've seen so far. Lachlan, you want to go first and share your top 10 with us?
I mean, I can. Do you want me to go from the bottom to the top, or you want me to go from top to the bottom?
That is entirely up to you. I'm leaving you leaving you full control.
I will go from number 10 to number 1. Now, just so everybody knows, this week's discussion time was brought to you by me. I added it to the show notes, and reason is I went through my Letterboxd account to see what I've watched this year, and this is me teasing it in what we've been watching, but I increased a few of my rankings.
Okay.
And when I mean a few, I literally mean 2. That's all. But I thought you might want to know. The first one is Asteroid City. I increased that from 4 stars to 4.5.
Right.
And my second film is my number 1 film of the year so far. But let me start from number 10. That's a little tease, but I've increased to number 1. Number 10, Mission Impossible. Great action, really fun. I thought it was a decently good action flick. Spider-Verse is number 9. Why? Because I thought it was a great animated flick, and
it's also my number 9.
I enjoyed it. Number 8, Perfect Days, Wim Wenders. That is a film that we saw in Cannes. I don't think you can see it yet, but when you do, you should definitely go see it. Number 7, Killers of a Flower Moon. Spectacular. Scorsese film coming out later this year. We can both agree. Good film. Enjoyable film. Number 6, Ewan, you might be shocked at this one that has actually made it into my list, even though I didn't like it that much, but I didn't have the gut to increase it when I was going through my letterbox. I'm still thinking about it, but number 6 is Monster. Again, we saw it at Cannes, and Corriere made it into my top
number 18.
Number 5, Beau is Afraid. It's in there.
All the way at number 5.
I gave it a pretty high rating, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought about it the other night, and I thought, it's a good little film. Yeah.
It's gotta be in the top 5.
Number 4, La Chimera. You know this is my favorite film from Cannes, but, as I said, Asteroid City got increased to number 3, because I am slowly but surely thinking Asteroid City is possibly one of his best films.
Interesting.
And I had to really think about it, but I'm going to be rewatching it so I can think about it, and I'll get back to you on that one. Number 2, John Wick Chapter 4. Why? I don't need to explain myself. It was some of the best action of the year, and a really good closing story to Mr. Wick until Lionsgate decides to wake him from the fucking dead. And number 1, this is the film that I increased from 4.5 stars to 5 stars. The Zone of Interest.
Oh, so there's another Cannes film. You misled me.
Actually, it's not the first 5-star, because I gave John Wick Chapter 4 5 stars.
Okay. Yeah.
I just really enjoyed it because there was 4 films following it. I thought it was a really good finisher, and it was the perfect mixture of not being too crazy and crazy. But The Zone of Interest, I gave 4.5 stars. I had to sit on it, and I've risen it to 5.
It has been risen. Great.
And I've considered moving Monster up as well. Monster is still, I believe I still gave it 3.5.
I definitely want to rewatch it, because with a lot of these like gun films, it's like you go in having no trailer, only maybe description and the name of the cast and and director. And I think with a lot of these films, expectation is like key. So when you know where you go, you can actually appreciate them. There's a couple of films on my list here that I'm like definitely gonna rewatch as soon as they come out here. And we have 3 movies that overlap in our top 10, which I like that it's only 3. That's not more than that. We'll link I think your list is public. Is it public yet, or is it like
not yet,
the end of the year?
Yet. I'll post it.
Maybe make us maybe make us like the top 10 so we can link it below. So if people want to check out your ranking of the year, but he privates it often because he likes to adjust stuff quite frequently. So don't hold him accountable to that. Do you want to hear my list? I'll also go from 10 to 1.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I think this is gonna cause a lot of discussion because you definitely don't have it anywhere near here. But I rewatched the movie we're covering today, and it's making my top 10. It's number 10.
No.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my god, no.
I do have it just to make you more mad. I do have it above Monster, Asteroid City, Cobweb, Fallen Leaves, You Have My Feelings, Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Somewhere in Queens.
Oh, you're a fucking film critic. You're a fucking film critic, Ewan.
It's a very funny film. We'll get into that. Why Lachlan hates it, and I really adore it. Number 9.
You have it above the Palme d'Or, brother. It's above the fucking Palme d'Or winner.
I do have it above Anatomy of a Fall, yeah. Well, Anatomy is at number 20 for me. Listen, hey, we can all be... Look, it's getting really pretentious in my top 5, okay? Save it.
I'm about to quit the
redeem
podcast. I'm so close to quitting this podcast. I've never
when
come
I saw
so
Lachlan's,
close.
When I saw Lachlan's rating for Joyride, I was like, finally, we can fight. We have something to fight about. But that it's gonna be comedies, it makes it even better. But number 9 is Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. Liked it a bit more on the rewatch, and it also made it same spot, 9-9. Luckily, we had the same. We had the same, right?
It's a good
next up is a gun film that was the winner, I think, of Un Certain Regard, How to Have Sex. Really like that one. Next, The Quiet Girl, released in 2023, but also was in like the Oscar thing. So it's kind of a bit of a tie over, but yeah, I like that one quite a bit. Then Rylane, another like I'm a sucker for romance. I really like it. Like, I know for you it's a bit lower, but not that much lower, right? No, wait, you didn't really like Rylane as well. So
hang on, you gave it how many stars? 4.5. Yeah.
4.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gave it 3.5. I wasn't that judgmental. I still liked it. I thought the comedy was fine. But you've put it above. Oh my gosh, I'm scrolling down, man.
He's on my list. If he could dislike stuff on Letterboxd, he would be doing it.
Continue. I'm listening. I'm listening, but I'm also judging in silence.
Okay, so my next
Lacamira is 77. How do you have it so? I know you hate the movie, but I don't literally
like the movie.
It is.
I have it above Elemental.
It's 3 above Elemental, 4 above Indiana Jones, and we shout on those movies. Oh my gosh.
I would also shit on Lucky Mera because I really didn't like it. But you can find the full list link below, by the way, if you want to be outraged like Lachlan. About Dry Grasses is my next one. Just a really slow simmering thriller, drama, whatever you want to call it. It's so much, it's also so long. It's one of the films I really want to rewatch because I know where it's going now. Then the only film in the rest of my top 5 that you can actually watch right now is How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Just thought that had so much energy and great performance, great story. Didn't have like a great ending that I wanted, maybe one too many storylines, but ultimately like really packs a punch. Loved it. Then you said that Zone of Interest was your number 1, right?
Zone of Interest was my number 1, yeah.
Yeah, currently that's my number 3. It could also be my number 2 right now. Those are a bit interchangeable, but great film. Again, can't really say much about it yet because people haven't seen it. Followed up by Todd Haynes' new film, May December. You slept through like half of that film, so you can't properly judge it, but I had a great time with it. So that's why it's my number 2. And then I think also in your top 10 was Perfect Days, a number like 8 or something. I really loved it. It's my favorite film of the year so far. Really beautifully touching. I can't wait for it to come out. I actually am programming an entire little series on Wim Wenders films in the local theater that I work at early in January next year, because this movie is coming out at the end of the year. So go check it out. It should be out in December.
Let me tell you, Ewan,
that's it.
There's one movie that I completely agree with you in, and I
What?
and I'm happy. No. Listen. I completely agree. I want to rewatch About Dry Grasses, mainly because I think that neither of us expected that film to be
where it goes,
what it was, where it goes, and it sets up a premise. And then it sticks to it, but then it diverges and comes back to it. It's a really interesting film, and I struggled to know where I wanted to put it because I tiptoed it in the top 10 multiple times making this list. I inevitably, I've taken it out, obviously, because I didn't say it, but it's in there, but I don't have it on my list. Like, it's unranked because I don't know how to feel about it. I still think positively, but I need to rewatch it before I put it back in my list somewhere. If I can't rewatch it before the end of the year, then I'll throw it in there. But I really want to rewatch it because I feel like it could get up there. It could definitely be in my top 5, like you've got it. But I will need to rewatch it before that, and I will also need you to rewatch Joyride about Rye Lane. About Rye Lane. Rye Lane as well. And I did rewatch Joyride last night. I need you to rewatch Killers for me, please.
I will.
And I think you should reconsider what you've said. It's okay. You edit this podcast. You can re-record this entire thing if you wanted to and completely ignore this part. But my God, brother, we have some talking we need to do.
Hey, that's the beauty of look, if we were to agree on all of this, I think it would be. I love that you have given up on me appreciating action more. Because John Wick and Mission Impossible and stuff like that is way lower on your list as well. That's just me. Yeah, and that's why I love Joyride. Anyways, okay, let's move on.
As reference, John Wick is number 30. Next to Mission Impossible, which are my 2 action films that I have in my top 10. And I think that I was quite generous that I put it in there. Spider-Verse is also in for both of us. So I think you know what? I don't hate your rating of where your action is, you know? You're not an action guy, and I get that.
Well, also,
I understand. I respect
how many
that.
Wait. How many films are on your list? Because it's for me it's number 30 out of 140 films. It's not 30 out of 30.
Well, are these the films that you've watched this year, or these are the 2023 films?
No, these are 2023 films.
Okay.
It's also missing a couple that I've seen recently.
I've seen a few films that are listed as 2022.
No. I mean the 2023. Yeah. But those were 2023 releases. If you go on The Quiet Girl and you go to releases, it does say theatrical. It was in 2020. Okay, never mind.
That's what I was pointing at because I knew it came out last year.
So that means Joyride is my number 9.
And it's Somewhere in Queens, which is also 2022.
That one didn't release until when they release at fall film festivals, it is listed as the previous year. That premiered at it premiered at Tribeca in June, and then it came out another Palm Springs whatever, and then it was online in April or May.
I would have to go through my diary on Letterboxd and rate those films. I know I've logged over 100, so I would have to go through them, but there's the Rocky series in there and a couple other binge sessions that I would have to take out. But yeah, I would say there's close to 90 films on the list, but
from 2023,
I say this with a big but.
He does have a big but.
I haven't done that yet because I can't be fucked.
Anyways, that's what you've been watching so far in the year, but let's get to what you've been watching.
You put the Old Oak before La Comida? You fucking piece of shit.
Look. I'll help you. I'll adjust that.
X is above La Comida, you son of a bitch.
He really liked that movie. I just didn't. Look, I'll do you one solid. When it comes out, I will watch it. I will rewatch it. Okay, and I will re-rank it as well. I'll actually like put up
out of
La
spite, you're
Quimera
gonna
a bit.
list
So
it lower, and I'm gonna fucking hate you for it.
no. Wait. I'll do this for you. I'll do you one solid. Okay, so I've updated my list. You can refresh, and that's what I can do for you.
I hate you. You sandwiched it between the Old Oak and Fast 10. I hate you so much. Also, what is that
Still worse
Fast
than the
X
Flash.
trailer poster? That poster is terrible. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
You've got
I
your
selected
custom
that one.
poster. It's so
Yeah.
bad.
I know.
Oh my God.
You can change the poster if you're
I know.
a patron.
It looks like Vin
And I
Diesel surrounded
just-
by popcorn when it's that
It's
small.
like a meme poster. He does look like a popcorn that's about to blast.
It is like
Okay.
one of the worst photoshopped images I've ever seen. Sorry.
But yeah, discussion time is messy, but I love it. I this is here to stay. Anyways, let's get to what we've been watching. Lachlan, talk to me. No, wait, that was not intentional. That was not intentional. Talk to me. What have you been watching? I
like
hate
it.
that. I hate that. No, it wasn't
well,
intentional.
I'm not gonna do talk to me first because
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I'd like to discuss it a little bit.
Hey, no
I've been working my
feelings.
way through Supernatural. I'm up to season 4. Some interesting
Mhm.
characters have been introduced. So there's my update on Supernatural. I also caught No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence. It was good. I'll
Yeah.
admit it was a good film. So I enjoyed myself. The comedy did make me laugh a little bit. I wouldn't say it's my type of humor though. That's the thing. So
Right.
some of it got me to laugh, some of it didn't. Some of it was trying to do shock value, and I was like, nah, I'm not really into that shock
Yeah.
value comedy. But at the end of the day, it was a good film, and I thought that it wrapped up nicely enough. But yeah, I gave it 3 out of 5, mainly because I said 2. I went with my girlfriend. She said 100, and I said no, it's out of 5. So I said, okay, look, let's do 2.5. She says no, let's do 75. I was like, that makes no sense. It's out of 5. And I said, what about 3? She's like, okay, 3. So we got to a 3.
Yes.
through
Thank you
negotiation.
thank you, Tanika, for bringing it up a bit, because this movie is definitely like a 3.5 in my opinion. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm just look. You're action.
But it's
I'm art
my
house, and somehow
Letterboxd.
I'm also the comedy guy.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I also then saw Talk to Me. So
Yes.
Talk to Me is a A24 film, and it's by the Rucka YouTube channel. They're a semi-large Australian YouTube sensation. They've also had a number of viral hits, and it was inevitable that they'd break into the film scene. I know that they've always had an interest in doing it. They've done a lot of, I guess, stunt work on their YouTube channel, which would be you know, quite expensive stunt work to do on a cinema set. So they got a background in that. And as
They
their
just do it though. It's crazy.
they just do
They
it.
just do the stuff. It's
As their directorial debut, I'm quite impressed. I
Yeah.
need to double check really quickly. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
What do you mean, the Street Fighter thing that they're about to direct? Or
I
what
know
do
about
you
the Street
wanna
Rider thing.
Yeah.
But one of my least favorite things
Fighter.
about Talk to Me is the screenplay itself. And
do? Okay.
looks like Danny worked on it along with Bill and
Ted?
Do I know any of them? Okay, looks like one of them is a producer and a writer for some TV shows. Okay, sure. And this one, okay, cool. The script was probably one of the weakest aspects of this film. The dialogue is extremely B-grade horror, and it does work with the film at points, but at some points when it's not so much horror, it's just the day-to-day aspects of their lives, it kind of sucks, and that's probably the worst part about this film. For me, was just, one, some of the dialogue sticks out like a sore thumb, and it doesn't really land, even though when it's going really hard into the horror and comedy side of it, it can do quite a good job. I think there's a solid 20 to 25 minutes midway through the film where there's a bit of comedy, a bit of horror, and it really lands it. The other thing as well, is there is some extreme Deus Ex Machina happening with some way of the story moving forward without explaining how certain characters get certain things.
Mhm.
To
Sure,
just
yeah.
there's halfway through the film, the main character gets possession of an object, and
Mhm.
clearly in the scene before that object was being stuffed somewhere else, and it's like, how did you get that? Why did it just kind of move the story forward? But it's an hour and a half film. You can't really get into that nitty gritty stuff, but some of that really sticks out, unfortunately. Along
Right.
with the B grade script, I just feel like it didn't really have that 4-star energy. I can see the cat moving in the background, yeah. The other aspect to this film that I think you might be interested in is the
Yeah.
horror aspect, because obviously it's a horror film.
That's what I've
And
heard. Like it's really unapologetically just like gruesome with its horror films. Could you
So
think that as well?
the violence is very good, and that is Danny and Michael Filippo going into their roots of YouTube. Their YouTube videos were very graphic, very hardcore, because they're action guys, right? They know how to do
Yeah.
action and not get hurt, but make it look like they're getting hurt. So that was
Mhm.
exciting to see. There is also a part in this film where the horror it steps its toe into this really weird uh into this really weird world. I can't really talk about it without spoiling it, but the
Mhm.
horror never goes as far as I would like it to. The
Okay.
possession side of it, with how violent they are to the hosts, like the demons are to the host, because that's the idea of the
Yeah.
film. You touch the hand and you
Mhm.
get possessed. It is good. It's great, right? And
Yeah.
that's cool. But they show a particular moment in the film what happens to the soul of the person while they're being possessed. They show where they are, and it's
Mhm.
literally for 5 seconds, and it was the most terrifying part of the movie for me, but that's all
Okay.
they do with it. They never go back into that moment. And I was really
Hmm.
hoping at the end they would go back into that world, back into where they're being possessed. Essentially, they're in hell, in quotations. But they
Right.
never do. And that's the unfortunate part, is that they never. And for people who see this movie, there's there's a really good moment involving feet, and I like to say that they never put their big toe into the horror. They just dip their toe into the horror. That's all they
Oh.
do. They
Oh
never
no.
go all the
Oh.
way in.
I hate fingernail stuff. I hate like toe stuff and
Trust
whatever
me,
is with fingers.
that's
Oh.
completely in the opposite direction. You and trust me.
Okay,
So
okay,
yeah,
okay.
but as a like debut, it's wicked. Like I really
Mhm.
thought that as a debut of a short film. The other thing as well is with Australian films, the accent's really fucking annoying. I'm not gonna lie. I
think
don't
so?
like I fucking hate the Australian accent in films. Joyride was a perfect example. Like when we'll
Right,
get to
yeah.
it with the Australian bloke, and I was like, and then he does the whole fuck spiders. That's an Australian thing, and no one laughed in the theater here because it's not funny. Anyway, that's a
And
talk
that part
about
wasn't really
Joyride.
no.
But
Yeah, we'll get to that in
the
a
thing
sec.
is about this film, it took me about 20 minutes to realize, oh yeah, wait, that's right. We're set in Australia, and there's also one American actor in it as well, and then it kind of throws you out, it throws you back in, because the Australian accent is very bogan. No matter where you hear
Yeah.
it from, it always, especially when you mix it with an American accent, it always sounds very
It
slow.
does, yeah.
And I guess that's just unfortunate, but it takes a bit for an Australian to like, oh yeah, we're watching an Australian movie, here we go. Especially because I
mean,
want to watch
yeah.
the Dry this week as well at some point.
Yeah.
And it's
I
another
feel the
Australian
same
movie,
about like
Eric Bana.
German or Swiss German films. Like
Yeah.
whenever I hear it doesn't sound cinematic in some ways, and you are
No.
not exposed to it as much. So maybe that's like for you an extra hurdle. I can't. Today my Europeanness is shining.
The Europeanness.
Yes, very. Yeah.
But no,
but yeah.
I think Talk to Me, it's really good. I think everyone should go and catch it, because I'd like to see these guys get a little bit more. It's also being quite positively reviewed, which is awesome as well. So in no way is my 3 stars, which I'm on this train of rescoring everything all of a sudden.
Look,
I'm considering it 3.5, but what?
Little bro went to one film festival and is now the harshest film critic I know. My God.
Trust me.
Everything in this commercial is like, hey, if it's action, it peeks through, but anything else is just like, no. Down to the gutter with horror and comedies. Just like all of the other critics.
What do you mean?
No.
3 stars is above passing. It's above a 2.5.
I know. I shouldn't say anything because like that's
it's like
actually
a B
like
minus
my thing as well. I know it's not bad.
Would you be disappointed with a B minus?
No.
Whatever.
Wait,
Look,
sorry.
it's
someone's at my door.
But yeah, just so everybody knows, rating wise, it's 72 on Metacritic, it's 7.5 on Letterboxd, and it's currently sitting at a 3.8.
7.5?
Sorry, 7.5 on IMDb and 4 on Letterboxd. 3.8 on Letterboxd.
Yeah. That's really high for a horror film. Even for like A24, I think that's higher than Midsommar and even Hereditary, I think. So yeah, I think it's definitely gonna come down once it is gone through the local releases, because I checked, it's supposed to come out in 2 weeks in Australia, but somehow you already got this. Like same thing when you surprised me last week with Mission Impossible. I guess you're just getting stuff early at this point. But yeah, that's all you've been watching?
Yes, except this afterwards, after the recording.
Yeah, he's gonna check out Interstellar, because we might be working on a Nolan film thing.
What's the Interstellar theme? How does that go again? On the count of 3, Ewan. On the count of 3, you and I are both going to try to do the Interstellar theme off the top of our heads. See how this goes. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Sorry,
I honestly have no clue, because like is this Hans Zimmer? All of Hans Zimmer just blends into the same thing for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Same with what's the other guy's name who was like just made his like last score for Indiana Jones?
Michael Jordan. I forgot his name.
I forgot his name as well.
Michael Williams.
John
Williams. Not George. John Williams.
John.
I had the last name.
John Williams. Yeah.
I thought Michelle, and I was like, Michelle Williams?
Michelle
no,
Williams?
That's not it.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. So that's what you've been watching. Let's get to what I've been watching. I honestly, in my top 10, I forgot that I watched Past Lives.
Oh yeah.
That would have been my number 1 and number 2. So I'm going to talk about Past Lives really briefly, but once it gets a release for you as well, and maybe the week slow down a bit with film releases, I definitely would love to do a spoiler review for Talk to Me, and also for Past Lives. But it is just it's a beautiful film. It's really just observing the relationship between 3 people, how they're like entangled. And I thought the movie was going to be more of the adult reconnection between these 2 characters who knew each other when they were little. Then one of them moved away to America. They were kind of in contact again, but never really met again. And then like 20 years pass until they see each other in person again. And I thought like the reconnection was going to be the most part of the movie, but it's like half of it, because there's like a lot of flashbacks and stuff like that incredibly set up certain moments in this movie where they are reconnecting. They're in the same space again, talking, and certain parts of their previous selves when they were younger kind of come to the forefront. And I like, this might be the best editing I've seen in a movie all year, and I loved How to Blow Up a Pipeline. But some of those cuts in Past Lives, like really, they punch you in the gut, in the face, in the heart. Then they just like they politely touch you as well. Like, it's a lot of emotions that come through watching this film. I completely adored it. I definitely want to rewatch it now, knowing what I'm getting. But this was my second 5-star from the first watch already. It's worth the hype, I'd say. I was going in with certain expectations that weren't really met, because I thought there was going to be more on like the before sunrise kind of 2 people connecting type of stuff. It's less that. It's really its own thing, and I really loved it. I'd love to chat with you and discuss probably your 2-star rating that you'll end up giving it. Anyways,
That was past lives,
then
right?
that was past lives. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta wait
Should
till August, end of August, for it to come
August.
out.
It's also gonna come out in August here, but I was lucky enough that like some of the outlets here are doing press screenings because they want to have a free summer. They do like summer break here as well, apparently. So like a bunch of movies are shown to us a month before. But yeah, I also watched They Clone Tyrone. It's gonna be on Netflix, I think, soon after this episode releases. And that one was an interesting film with John Boyega at the center of it all. There's also Jamie Foxx in it. And I mean, the title says it already. They Clone Tyrone. That's kind of the premise. It's also a bit like Matrix-esque. It gets kind of political. It's fun. But this was a movie that I can't really figure out what I make of it so far. I think I need to rewatch it as well. But there were a lot of like really interesting stylistic ideas, and it shot very well. But it lacked like a certain punch to it for what it was trying to go for. But yeah, it's like a conspiracy movie in a sense as well. I quite enjoyed it, so give it a try. I mean, it's on Netflix, easy to watch. And then something I would stay clear of, Lachlan, do you remember that like we had an assignment when we were in uni together to, I guess, cut up a trailer? And I think one of the options was Bird Box. I think we both didn't do Bird Box, but that was one of the movies that you could cut for. Have you seen Bird Box?
No. Well, no. I listened to it the way that God intended.
Sure. Because you never know when the monsters will creep up.
Exactly.
I did watch it in preparation for this spin-off set in Barcelona, and I think both movies are kind of trash, to be honest. This one, the new one, Barcelona, is even worse a bit because it doesn't really know what to do, and I think I was asked to not spoil anything of it, and I don't know what I'm not supposed to spoil. I didn't read the notes that closely, but it's essentially like the people you follow are maybe not the people you like with their intentions of who they are is not really at the center of it all. And I can't really talk about this vaguely because like essentially it's got a good idea. It's basically like, what if you follow like the bad guys in this, but then also like adds a couple of twists onto that. And it's it's got interesting elements, but it never really comes together. Diego Luna, who was in Babylon, is also in this briefly. So yeah, it was a bit of like, Netflix, what are you doing? A bunch of spin-offs, I guess, testing out different speaking regions. And because Spanish is big. Lachlan, I don't know if you knew that, but Spanish is quite big. So like, there's a huge market for it. So we should make a spin-off of the podcast that is just like translated into Spanish, just like Mr. Beast does. But that's all the stuff that I watched and I'm going to talk about this week. I'm also going to be catching Barbie tomorrow, Oppenheimer. Well, no. Okay, by the time this comes out, I will have seen Barbie and Oppenheimer. So I will be talking about that in the bonus, what we've been watching. So give that a listen if you want to hear my thoughts on those early. Then I watched all 3 seasons of The Other Two. Was a recommendation given to me because the series concluded with the 3rd season, and it's very timely with like the strikes because it's essentially a comedy that pokes fun at the industry at large, like all of entertainment, and it is like, it's quite unapologetic towards its characters that are the lead, like plays them as fools, and it balances its tone really well. Oh, sorry, I meant to not talk about it. If you want to hear more of my thoughts, watch the bonus thing. Lachlan, are you ready to disagree about a film for once? Finally, we do get to argue about something. And that film is the comedy Joyride. So could you read us the synopsis for the film?
Of course.
Please.
4 Asian American friends travel through Asia in search of one of their birth mothers. Along the way, their experience becomes one of bonding, friendship, belonging, and no-holds-barred debauchery. Ethan Hunt and his IMF... Oh, wait, this is last week's. Can we just... let me remove that from the show notes. Because Ethan Hunt is not in this movie. But you know what is?
What?
Ewan's
Pussies?
love for this movie.
Yeah. I don't know why you don't like this. So I guess let's kick off our conversation about like why on a bigger level you didn't enjoy this film?
I didn't enjoy this film for two reasons.
Mhm.
One, this is not my genre of film.
You said you don't like comedies or shock value like
I just don't enjoy this. This is not aimed at me, right?
this.
Because I can tell you what,
I don't know.
every mum that was in that movie loved the shock comedy,
Really?
right?
Okay.
They loved
Yeah.
it. This is not my movie. Now, I have nothing against the performances because I thought that was probably the best part of the film. I have nothing against the filmmaking, but the comedy was not for me. And the
Right,
film was
okay.
not aimed for me. And that's totally valid, but it just means I
Sure.
didn't enjoy the film. I don't
You're
hate the
very
film,
valid.
right?
Mhm.
I don't think the
Yeah.
film is terribly made. I think it's quite well done. And
Mhm.
I think that overall, there are some jokes that do land for me, at least. Like, I thought they were actually all right. But
Yeah.
the film's not for me. The comedy's not for me. But I can see where people will enjoy it. And that's fine. I just don't enjoy this type of comedy.
Interesting. So, like, if you were to go back, like, what's a comedy that you could say like that's more your style of comedy, like stuff that you really enjoy?
Schindler's List.
Sure. Yeah, you really
That's
found
pretty
it
bad, isn't
funny
it?
when there's like the one colored shot in black and white. That was like,
Yeah.
they
A
forgot
comedy
something.
that works for me. Well, the thing is, I don't really go out of my way to watch comedies.
Right.
The genre of comedy, I guess, might be the thing that I don't enjoy because I don't think
Yeah.
you can make a totally like incredibly made film when it's just a comedy. It's usually matched in with other things. Like if I go to
Mhm.
Letterboxd right now and just drop down to the film section and I select the film, like the genre comedy, right?
Yeah.
And I look at the top
There's a lot of overlap. Because you can't search for
123,844 films, right? The thing is,
Yeah.
if you look at the top couple, none of them are comedies.
Well,
Parasite is
it's
the
usually
first one that
yeah,
comes up.
it's always paired with like that's what should we do a discussion time right now about
We're doing
like
a
before we
discussion
even
time. Discussion
let's
time
do
part
discussion
2.
time.
Return of the discussion.
Okay.
Like the first
yeah,
film
why
in
do you
that list that I can say that's an actual comedy would
Yeah.
be I mean the Menu might be one, but I still don't think it's like a comedy per se. The Truman Show has Jim Carrey, who's a great comedian, but that's not
also
one of his
drama.
funny films, right?
Yeah.
So the only film that I can think
Scott
might be a
Pilgrim?
comedy is Scott Pilgrim's funny visually, right? So I guess like
I think
that's
it
where
is a
lies
comedy.
into. So
Yeah.
it's I guess that's it. But then the film, I wouldn't say comedy. Scott Pilgrim, right? But the first film
Yeah.
in there would be Don't Look Up. I go, yeah, that's a comedy.
That is definitely a comedy, yeah. Like
Yeah.
straight up. It does have some other elements of it though. I feel like in recent years and the reason why like these mid-budget genre comedy only films aren't really made anymore when they were thriving in the 90s and into the 2000s era as well. It's just because it's bled into all of the other genres and a drama that is like hard hitting but also has dramatic undertones. It's just like way more popular now. Like it's also with something like Succession and comparatively like Barry, those two shows that just ended this year. But like one of them started off as more of like a comedy show and Succession is definitely a drama. But for like the later seasons of Barry, it's way more a drama than it is a comedy, although it has a lot of comedy in it still. And Succession is like more satirical in a sense with the way like its characters behave. So it's also like straight up for me in a sense also a comedy. So I like that's one of the reasons why films like that don't get made anymore. I think it needs like a distinctive voice. Like, would you say The Big Lebowski is also just like a purely a comedy?
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't
No?
put Lebowski
What else would it
as a
be?
comedy. If we
Yeah.
look at the Coens' filmography,
Yeah.
I would probably put Lebowski like a lot of their filmmaking has comedy interwoven in it. I don't think they've straight out made like a comedy, but like, I mean, A Serious Man's pretty fucking funny.
It's like, okay, so this is like the argument, I guess, that for a lot of dramas they just get the comedic parts kind of folded into itself, and comedies on itself don't really get made as much. Maybe we do have something like Crazy Rich Asians. We do have I guess from the last decade, maybe 21 Jump Street. You got The Nice Guys. I haven't seen that one, but it just seems like a comedy. And there's one other film, like Booksmart is one of the popular ones that was made recently. And other than that, we don't really have a lot that also like work well, because I feel like a lot of the stuff has just shifted to streaming to have like these classic comedy films that you return to. Like this week, I also rewatched like The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and it does have like some stuff that doesn't hold up as much anymore. And I feel like people are quick to jump to the conclusion that like we are too woke for like PC culture scrutiny for comedies. And I don't think that's it. It's just like we don't really watch like pure comedies as much anymore. And if we do, it is more on like the streaming services that you don't really, I don't know, it's not something you pay like a cinema ticket for. And audiences and box offices kind of reflected that as well. But why do you think is that? Like, why are we going away from comedies?
Well, I feel like comedies in the past they are at a less serious time. I feel like in this, it's getting really philosophical, but the state of the world right now is chaotic, right? There is so much chaos going on that most comedies these days are trying to poke fun at that. There can be comedy found in the seriousness of it all. Don't Look Up is like a great example of poking fun of the actual current state of the world. Even though I didn't find it that funny, it's a great example of what a modern day comedy is. I'm scrolling through IMDb right now, and I'm trying to find films that just list comedy as their genre in their like 2 or 3 that they're allowed to list as like just the preview. And there's only a few that I can currently see. And a couple of them would be The Campaign from 2012 with Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis. You've also got The Dictator with Sacha Baron Cohen. That's just a pure comedy. Step Brothers is a perfect example. If someone said comedy, I think Step Brothers is the first one that I go to because I just think of it as a pure comedy. Ted is a great example of a pure comedy. The Hangover is also there. Superbad is a great example. Project X, sure, it's a comedy. I probably wouldn't list it as a comedy if I'm totally honest. Ted 2, like, and these are films from like 2000 on. But when I think comedy as well, I just go straight to Adam Sandler. Yeah. And I think that a lot of his stuff is comedy.
But even his stuff with murder mystery is now tied to the mystery genre, like that type of
that's thing. I guess the newer of Adam Sandler's films are, you know, because like bit of a genre bending, but Grown Ups, that's a comedy.
Yeah, but if like coming of not really coming of age, I guess. No, it's because they're really old. I by the way, I watched Step Brothers. I have seen Step Brothers now for a long time. I hadn't seen it, and I've seen it now. And it's funny. It's pretty funny. I don't know. You could always pair it up with something else, like something that's coming soon next week. Gonna talk about it. Barbie is listed as a fantasy adventure comedy on Letterboxd. Like it's also like people who put it in there. It's just like a way to put it into like a box. And it doesn't it doesn't need to reflect that fully, or that might even not be correct. But something like that is breaking the mold a bit for what comedy is, because it feels like they put a lot of emphasis on the marketing for this, that it's just gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be silly. I think it's gonna be really interesting to see like how well this does, how many people are gonna watch it, and how people are gonna also think about it, not just how popular it is, but also what people make of it if they enjoy this type of comedy. Yeah. Anything else, or are you ready to close discussion time and get back to Joyride?
I guess the discussion can go back to Joyride, but
okay.
I just think the reason mid-budget comedies don't exist anymore is that I don't think people would go and see it in cinemas. It's
and
like
that's
straight to DVD. They won't make their money back.
Yeah, not even
Prove
DVD,
me wrong.
Streaming. I mean, yeah, give us great comedies just like this one that Lachlan doesn't enjoy.
Make comedies great again.
That's the spirit. Okay, so this comes Joyride comes from Adele Lim, who was the writer, one of the like 10 writers on Raya and the Last Dragon, but she was also the co-writer of Crazy Rich Asians. It comes in at a brisk 95 minutes, which is great for a comedy.
The best part about the film.
Sure, that it was over. Fair. But ratings wise, it's pretty good. I'd say on Letterboxd it's a 3.4. That's okay. On IMDb a 7 and on Metacritic a 76. So the critics for once are just really reflecting my appreciation for the film as well. What surprised me is like the budget is apparently, I couldn't get like a fixed I guess confirmation for this, 32 million, which is a lot for a comedy. It's a bit much.
Yeah.
It's a bit much. I think it was like 25 million production and then 7 million for cast is what I found. But so far it has only made $8.4 million. Hasn't been out yet, I think, worldwide in a bunch of places in Europe. But in Australia it has released, in the States it has released, and it doesn't seem to be breaking even for the pretty big budget that it had. You said you didn't like it. I want to talk about the characters. Was there something about the character chemistry that didn't work for you, or was it just the comedic style that you didn't enjoy?
No, I think that the actresses themselves all did a great job. The character of Deadeye is a character that I've seen before, so the oddness of the character just didn't make me laugh. It wasn't a unique character that I've seen before.
That was, to be fair, also my least favorite thing. Like, her character was just a bit too out there when the movie was already really over the top.
And each of the characters already had their sort of quirks, I guess. Two of them being quite sexually outgoing, one being quite conservative with that, and then you obviously have Deadeye, which is a bit of an odd character to throw in there, but you need to have that odd character. Anyway, the chemistry was fine, right? I think the chemistry of it all is great. I think that the characters bounced off each other quite well. I felt that the tension between Lolo and Kat was quite good. Stephanie Sue did an incredible job. I think she's absolutely brilliant. And Ashley Park's Audrey was great. Like I think that for me the performances were fine. They were the part that kind of kept me engrossed the most with the film. The only, I mean, they were side characters, so I can't really judge them that much. But the
basketball team,
the men in the movie were a bit hard to watch.
I think a lot of the men are just basically like objects to be desired for them in this story. That's why it's like, it feels like a reversal role of a comedy. If you were to gender swap it, it would be a bit more problematic. But the way it just like fully leans into that without being gross too much, like to me at least, it wasn't gross. I didn't mind it, and I really enjoyed how they played off of each other, especially like you said, Lolo and Kat. Like they're like quick back and forth and stuff. There was so many moments in between that just had me giggling. And then like this was the movie that made me laugh the hardest and the most this year, like by far. It had so many like, not even just surprise comedy, but just like really well written and well timed moments. I just had a blast. I just had a really good time. And yeah, I mean, it makes me a bit sad that I guess you didn't enjoy it as much. Maybe your theater also didn't love it as much. Did they laugh a bunch?
People were laughing. Oh, okay. Yeah. But I didn't. I felt some of the humor was just not. Some of it just felt a bit forced with some of the comedy for me. I didn't enjoy when jokes feel like they're forced to come on. But the obviously
did you like maybe we can go into spoilers here, because I do want to talk about specific moments then. All right, spoilers here if you haven't seen the film. Also it's a comedy film. It's for the moments itself, so you can listen to us and then still enjoy the movie afterwards. But I think the train thing was maybe something that you didn't like. Was that like something that felt forced to you? Or was it more like the basketball
cocaine?
Team? The cocaine, yeah.
The drug. No.
No.
I thought
what
that
is
was
it
one
in
of
Lachlan?
Well, I don't find the movie funny, bro. I don't know what to say to you. The comedy for me wasn't funny. Like,
Sure.
okay, so in the trailer, the comedy for the train is spoiled. I've already seen that joke. That joke's already said in the
I didn't
trailer,
watch-
okay?
Yeah.
The fact that she steals the luggage, that's also kind of just like, okay, yep, they're going to steal the luggage. And then the train conductor saying, I don't want to search their assholes is kind of funny, and I kind of just giggled at that. But, like, I didn't find the whole shoving the drugs in their bodies and taking it to try to hide it, and then the switcheroony from the actual trafficker, I didn't find that funny. I just thought, okay, it's an awkward situation to be in a very serious country about drugs. That's a funny situation. I'll appreciate that. But the actual moment itself, I didn't find that funny. And then the whole speech that Audrey gives afterwards, I was like, okay, sure. The come down afterwards, off the train, a little bit funny. I'll give it that. I did sort of find it funny that they would start reacting a bit differently. How they, Kat says she gets horny. She's, I've got 7, I think there was 8, and then that comes to bite her in the ass later, literally. And then how Lolo is kind of just fine because she's done drugs in the past, and Audrey's kind of like, let's do more cocaine, that's great. And Deadeye doing Deadeye stuff. But, like, that moment is fine. Like, don't get me wrong. That moment is fine. I don't have anything wrong with it. I wasn't laughing. Like, laughing. You might feel differently.
I think, like, the train sequence overall, look, to me, like, a sequence as a whole, because I appreciate it just for pretty much the pure comedy that it is, doesn't need to stick the landing in all of it if it's got, like, great laughs. So I don't really look at the whole scene as something that needs to make sense if it's funny enough. And
Sure.
I really enjoyed, like, specific moments in that. It's just like the exchanges, maybe not like the scene as a whole that I would say, hey, this is a great scene overall. But there's a lot of stuff. Like, I feel like as soon as Lolo talks, like, that quick talk type of snappy, snarky dialogue works really well. I think one of the things that I didn't really like was Ronnie Jeng's character, who was like the business deal guy, because he kind of forces some of the plot onto them. Again, I don't really mind that too much, but it gives them, like, a catalyst to go from China to Seoul. And I don't know, like, that part was something that I didn't love, like the bar thing as well, like that type of comedy that's also not funny to me. But the exchanges, just like the whole thing, the chemistry that they have was just so ripe for a lot of, like, little jokes that then explode. Like, I don't know, something really stupid, but when Deadeye goes like, oh, this is like when Kat is horny and she goes like, oh, this is Hermione, this is like Ron, Harry Potter. Like, it's so dumb, but I found it really funny. I don't know. I just had a great time with it. It made me smile. What else? Is there anything else you want to bring up with, like, specific moments?
Not really, because
Yeah,
I don't think
it's
there's
hard to
moments
talk
that,
about a
fully
comedy
stand
that
out
way.
for me.
Yeah.
You obviously have your favorite moments.
Yeah. Good
Look,
moments.
I found the reveals of some things, the subtle comedy, quite good. Like with the whole Kat's boyfriend being quite conservative, and they're all thinking about this wild, crazy person that they know, and she's got this quite conservative boyfriend, and they're gonna try to hide it from him that she's wild and she has this crazy tattoo and stuff. I found that quite funny, and I do agree with the stuff that Lolo says is really good. She's quite a good snappy comeback artist in this film. She always has something funny to say, and at least the banter between Kat and Lolo at the start when they really don't like each other is really good. So I enjoyed that. That was fun, and the characters amongst itself was fun. Okay, you're gonna hate me, but my favorite part about this film is the identity of this film and how it represents that.
What you mean, like her identity with the Korean? Yeah, no.
No. As in what the film says in terms of identity.
That it's like, what does it say, Lachlan?
Well, I mean, she is a adopted girl in a white family, so she never feels at home. She's in a predominantly white neighborhood with only really one other Asian family, at least that's what they say in the film. So she feels quite isolated that way as well. She then goes to her mainland and doesn't speak a drop of Mandarin, so she immediately feels isolated in that.
Yeah.
She then travels around, drinks their wine at the bar, drinks their beers, doesn't like Chinese food. She feels isolated from that. And then when she's finally about to discover herself, she's not even Chinese. She's Korean. And and for me, that's like the best part of this film is Audrey's story.
Lachlan, I'm gonna agree with you. That's also my favorite part of the movie. But it's in addition to that, also a great comedy, in my opinion. I like when they have the moment with the mom on the laptop. I was crying. I loved that. It was so touching. And the whole like identity thing as well. So got you there, Lachlan. I didn't just like the comedy because I liked all of it.
Look,
I think without the identity thing, it would be like maybe a 3.5. But that like made it. I'm leaking my rating here, but that pushed it to a 4 for me.
And that's fair. That's valid. Like comedy is subjective. Some people like certain comedies. Some people don't, and that is
like Pussy
completely
Devils.
fair. And that is valid. And I think it's like a thing about comedy. Like you see a lot of people who like I guess very edgy comedy. That gets quite a bit of notice because it obviously pushes boundaries. And there are certain boundaries that can be pushed without offending people, and there are boundaries that get pushed just because they want to do the shock value. Like that's the part of comedy that gets spoken about people who they either love it or they hate it. That's like an easy drawn line there. But there's certain comedies like this which don't really offend anybody, but they're just not for everybody. And that's just me. I just didn't find the film as funny as you did. And that's okay, because I still think at its core, it's a good film. It's just the comedy for me doesn't land, which is why my rating is lower, but I can understand where all of the critics and stuff are saying, yes, it's good.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to the rating. Again, if you like comedies, I think we can both... we can't both recommend it, but I'll recommend it for the two of us.
I'll recommend it! Don't speak for me. I will recommend this movie.
Okay, fair.
It's just
So
not for
give me your rating. What's your rating?
It's 2.5. That's 50%. That's a pass. That's a good film.
Sure. I think we could roll back the tapes to like when I maybe was like there for when you're like, huh? That's really low for that film. But we won't be doing that. But I like to switch. For me, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. But I also understand why it would be way lower for people who don't enjoy the comedy. That's the biggest part of it. That's the biggest swing it takes. But that's that. Let us know what you thought of it.
Stop. Hang on. I don't not enjoy the comedy. It's just I don't. I
He
just
doesn't enjoy the comedy.
It's
He
not
hated
funny
it.
for me. I didn't laugh.
If it's not a white guy who's straight at the center of it all, Lachlan can't enjoy it.
Exactly. That's what I'm fucking trying to say here. Clearly, Ewan, you keep putting words in my mouth. Now tell everybody that I only find white people funny.
Exactly. Yes. Anyways, what would you pair up with Joyride?
The funniest other movie of the year.
Schindler's List. The
Bingo. Yeah.
Yeah. No, actually, or what are you pairing up with it?
So my pick as a double feature is also an identity film that's a comedy that I found funny. I thought the humor was good. And it's a coming of age film.
Joker. Okay.
It's Booksmart.
Yeah. Okay. Comedy he likes. And for some reason, like the leads are not white straight men. So Lachlan has redeemed himself. He's picked a queer comedy that's also funny. No, I love Booksmart as well. So great pick. I also am going with another comedy. I'm sticking with the straight white male though. With 40-Year-Old Virgin. There's some outdated stuff, some bad words that we don't really say anymore. But it's still really funny of its time. I feel like canceling comedy because it's outdated is like, if it's not ill-intended, is kind of dumb. And this comedy is just really funny. It's got a lot of heart. I quite enjoy it. So hopefully you do too if you haven't seen it yet. So pair it up with Joyride. But that's it for the double features of the week. Now let's have a look at the new releases and the much anticipated feud between Universal and Warner Brothers. Barbie and Oppenheimer are releasing simultaneously. I think Barbie is winning with the like sort of marketing as well, but also the release time. It's releasing like 1 or 2 days before Oppenheimer as well. I will be able to see them for me right now tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. So I'm really ready for this feud and just hopefully 2 really good movies to talk about in the next few weeks. We'll have a double feature of it on the main episode where we talk full on spoilers. So make sure to give them a watch, fit them in before next Tuesday. And yeah, looking forward to our discussion, Lachlan. In the meantime, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss that. You can also follow us on Patreon. You don't need to join a tier, and you do get the bonus videos that we produce over there. Bit of an extended bonus for what I've been watching of the week, because I usually watch a bit more than Lachlan does, and it doesn't really fit into the show. Plus trailer reactions and a bunch of other stuff there as well. So go give it a try if you're interested, and rate us on the podcast app of your choosing. It helps us get up there in the charts. But Lachlan, it's been a joy ride for the two of us discussing this film. I really like that we don't have the same opinion on this. This was so much fun. And I hope we disagree about movies in the future as well. So yeah, we'll see you next week.
I've changed my mind.
Yeah?
Yeah.
About what?
Ewan, you might be happy with me about this one. This is the very last addition to the episode.
Okay.
Ewan, I think you were very persuasive.
He bumped it down to a 2.
I'm not going to watch Interstellar tonight. I'm going to watch The Prestige instead. I've changed my mind. Thanks, man.
See ya.